Hi, Cedar Falls members and guests. I want to provide this video, I don't know, we'll see how long, a few minutes long, in case you were unable to make it to the member meeting, and I want you to know what was covered. Um, and basically, you missed out on a whole lot of laughter and love, so now you get the condensed version, just the facts. But I'd be certainly be glad to sit down with any of you and just talk about this stuff, and we'll be talking about this stuff more. So here's the big picture. We were just talking about kind of the season ahead for Redeemer Cedar Falls. There's a lot of just kind of change in the air, and there isn't anything huge like I'm leaving or anyone's getting fired or anything like that. But there's a handful of things that contribute to what I discern to be like a new season for us. Number one, we are sending out a new church planter, and that's Michael and Allie going to Denver, and you guys all know about that. And we've done that before. We sent out the Dykeys, and that was a change, right? We had some pretty high level leadership there in terms of being on the pastoral team and on staff, and things shift after that. And we entered a new season, which was with Michael and Allie coming in, and the Powells being gone also, and just a big shift there. So now they're out, so that's a shift. Also, and many of you have heard about this, but some of you, this will be the first time you hear, is that the Sheets, Daniel and Emily are really feeling a call to focus back in Tama. They've been commuting 45 minutes to an hour to Redeemer Cedar Falls for years, and it's been good for them. It's been good for us, but we've always known that it wasn't long-term sustainable. We'd kind of hoped they would sell the farm and move here, but that's not in God's plan. So they are feeling God's call to really focus in on their community. So what that means is that they would love to see God start a church there. So they're not necessarily going to plant a church, but they're just joining with family and some friends to pray that God would do something. And I'm working with them, with Daniel particularly, just to continue to think through that and pray through that and pray that God would do that he would take, to some extent, what they have received from God through Redeemer and others and take that to Tama and start a new work there. And they're not leaving immediately. They've already shut down their group, but they are going to be worshiping with us for hopefully a year or so still, and still continuing to be an elder. But they're starting to look to heading out. So that's pretty, that's half of our ground team in Cedar Falls getting ready to go, right? And so there's that. And then the other thing is we have a new addition to the pastoral candidating team, right? So the way that works is that we have a process by which we get to know people and build a relationship and watch them grow, and then we invite them into what's called a candidating period. Like we would say, hey, we think you might be called to be a pastor here. Like, pray about that. And if they agree, then we enter a year of them leading and joining us at the table and doing some study and things like that together. And then we invite you guys to get to know them as well during that year and see if there's affirmation in that or not. And so that would be Ben Mao. Ben Mao has been at church a few years here and serving in different ways, and just God has given him a continued hunger to grow, for ministry, to have an impact. And so we invited him into that process, and he has agreed to enter that. So for the next year, we'll be getting to know him more, and we really invite your input on that. So you guys have known Ben, some of you well, some of you not, but just encourage you to get to know him more, and we want your input, right? And so if all goes well over the course of a year, we'll have another pastor, not on staff, but as a lay pastor, right? That's what we call pastors that don't work for the church. He works at John Deere, but would serve alongside us as a part of the pastoral team. So there's some leadership change, right? That's pretty high level. The other thing, one of the things that has contributed to this sense of like change in a new season is the pandemic that really kind of shut us down for several months or a couple months. We were just not even meeting. And now we're back together, and it's a little different. Some things are different. You guys, I don't have to go through the details, but it's a little different on Sunday morning. In some ways, it's the same. But one of the big hits that we took was kids ministry. I mean, it just shut down. We stopped having it, and then even when we did come back, we were like, should be cautious about people's readiness to be having their kids in there and all that kind of thing. And I think as people are getting more and more used to the idea of being together, we moved toward launching our kids again, and we want to grow that. We want to see that. Right now, it's like one room, and it's basically childcare. We want to see that grow. We want it to grow to 2 rooms. We want to get back into a gospel-centered curriculum and other activities and things like that. Some better investment in the kids and planning, and so we're looking forward to that. We want to cast vision for that and invite people to participate in that. Currently, Jacob Garnett, which is another kind of recent change in leadership, right? With Michael going out, he stepped in and taken over Rise. But he's also been volunteering to lead our kids and hospitality on Sunday mornings. But it's just too much. He can't do all that with his full-time job and Rise. So we're looking for leaders. Because here's the deal. When a lot of leaders move on, it's time to pass the baton. And so I'm, in one sense, informing you guys what's happening, but also encouraging you and exhorting you and challenging us to okay, let's build this thing. Let's rebuild our kids. And that way we can, preach the gospel to the kids, bless guests who are visiting, and, serve Redeemer members also by ministering to their kids. And so we want to move toward having a couple rooms in there, and, they'll be doing some recruiting, and we want some leaders. And we're talking with some people about possibility of having some leadership in there. It's probably too early to announce that, but there's some possibilities, and in hospitality too. The point is this. Michael has a vision for Denver. The Powells had a vision have a vision for Clinton. The Dykeys have a vision for Des Moines, and the Sheets are starting to get a vision for Tama. What's our vision here in Cedar Falls? What are we doing? And I think it's the people of invincible joy, that this is the vision God has given us, and we want to use all the means of ministry that He's given us to work, to invest, to serve. And Sunday mornings is a key part of that, and kids ministry is a key part of that. So let's do it. Let's build that thing. And so, and then also we're calling the body to consider who among you was going to take that next. Take the baton when it comes to group leadership. The Michael's group is going to be shut down. Sheets group is already shut down. There's opportunities there, and there's opportunities to lead, to step out and say, provide a place where God's people can gather, to encourage one another, to get in the Word, to pray together, and seek God's mission. And so there's this opportunity, right? So we'd love to see 2 or 3 new groups pop up. And so, this extends beyond a member meeting. We'll be praying and talking and meeting with people and things like that. But we wanted to take the opportunity just to kind of cast that big vision and let you know what all is happening, because it's a kind of a lot of moving pieces at once. And I think it's time for really all of us to kind of reset and take stock and go, okay, all right, things aren't the same. There are seasons of change, and what does this look like? And I don't know, for some of you it might be discouraging to have people constantly leave, and I certainly feel that. I didn't want the Dykeys to leave or the Powells to leave. I don't want the Van Wardenheisens to leave. I don't want the Sheets to leave. And those are just our pastors. There's been people who have moved on over the years, and I don't want people to leave. I want them to stay. But they're leaving for good reasons. I mean, God's given them a vision, and God's given this little campus in Cedar Falls this kind of multiplying power to inspire people and send them. And so that's a sign of health. Now we want the back end of that where we grow and to catch up more, and I do think that's going to happen. That's one. I actually didn't mention this at the member meeting, but one of the other things I see changing is there's been more babies. So over the years we've struggled with that demographic, and what I see happening is younger families starting to develop and be built here, young people getting married, babies being made, and that contributes to a stability and just a growth factor. We saw that in Cedar Rapids 10 years ago when we got here. That's what we had. We had babies everywhere, and so I think that's another shifting demographic that will impact us over the next few years. So anyway, so in one sense, nothing's really changing. We're still Redeemer Church, fighting for joy. I'm not going anywhere. Dirk's here with us. Terry's here with us. And, Shildross are here leading the group, and then, tons of you out there doing different things and serving in different ways. And so a lot of constancy, but also some pretty big shifts that we want to stay ahead of and seek God's will for. So there, I managed to keep it under 10 minutes. See, you got 10 minutes in what took us an hour and a half. So, but I want you guys to be informed. So feel free to reach out to me. I'll be reaching out to some of you just to get together and catch up and talk and see what God's doing. So, all right. Love you. We'll see you soon. Bye.